Fire types are nowhere to be found in Spring Cup, and today trainers we're gonna take a look not on a fire type Pokemon but at a Pokemon that can use Fire Fang towards its advantage, and that Pokemon is none other than this one, and of course Shadow Mawile. Of course this Pokemon is also gonna be rank 1, which was an incredible catch that I had a few years back, and when I can use it on special cups like this one, the Spring Cup, I really find myself in a very good position. So right here we're gonna use it as a closer today with Fire Fang, with Power Punch, and of course that Iron Head for that mini nuke, I guess, but still it is gonna work pretty well overall, especially when your opponent is left only with grass types, which is the main key element of Spring Cup. So with that said, now cue the intro. Let's begin now today's content with Shadow Mawile facing basically our core breaker, because Lantern not only is having the electric moves for my water type, but also it can simply wall down my Fire Fanger at the back. The only positive matchup that I can have is going to be Ferrothorn, but over here we have an alternative way to encounter that Lantern and eventually finish it off in style. As you can see, they want to completely farm down. That is not gonna be the issue at all for my Poliwrath, because we still manage to guarantee the nuke with that unexpected dynamic punch, as it seems. So right here I'm just gonna go with those power punches, and of course my opponent goes for a weird block, but I do not care that much, because at this point all I want to do is to block the overhit and completely farm down. But my foe here is just gonna dominate with that amazing double bait combo, but another one is coming up. I don't know what they were thinking, perhaps they do not even have overhit and I was just overthinking it. Yeah, that was a bad pun, but it was intended. Anyways, here comes now the Pop Thorn battle, and of course we're having access to Flash Cannon for some extra damage output, but my opponent is not gonna have Flash Cannon, I guess, at this point, just the Mirror Shot, which is gonna be just an annoying move, not a lot of damage. It is just gonna debuff me along the way, but obviously at some point we can easily snipe them down with a couple of those Fire Fangs. So down they go, and now with them returning into the battle with that Weezing, we figure out that they have no overhit at all, just a brutal swing and sludge, so we eventually farm down. Into the next battle now, and as you can see they have the Ivysaur, which is not that great for me. I know that eventually one Icy Wind might do the trick here, but still they can easily outspeed to the charge attack, and at the same time they are part poison, which means that my counters are resisted, so my odds are not the best at this point. Hopefully though my backline can easily work with that Ivysaur, and at the same time we can have kind of a very good battle up against that Sileo. We managed to get both of them shields out of the way. Aurora Beam can still be taken while we can still reach to yet another big nuke, this time the triple power whip. Down they go, but of course that Ivysaur now can farm down. You know what, I really like my odds here with my Mawile for the end game, and especially when they can throw a move that I can resist, I'm just gonna take it no matter what. Another move is coming up, but my Shadow Mawile is super glassy, which means that we need to spend a shield in the process, just in case they have something horrific at the very end. Unfortunately for them, it is gonna be the Lantern with no shields, which means that one dynamic punch over here will just seal the deal pretty easily up against them. Right on the CMP, as it seems, so absolutely wonderful counting from those water guns, and at the same time we can go ahead and throw that Ice Wind on the Ivysaur. I was about to say Venusaur, but it is not a Venusaur, and of course grab this amazing victory for our team. Kingdra now is a pretty good generalist for the meta of Spring Cup. Perhaps I need to make a separate video on that Pokemon, but as you can see we can still somehow manage up against it with a simple Icy Wind, and since they want to not throw the remaining energy, I'm just gonna switch out to the Ferrothorn to see how they want to respond. They end up catching my move on the Tentacruel, but to be fair we were just gonna go for the Power Whip no matter what. So Acid Spray here is easily gonna be taken from our Pokemon. I was expecting expecting the skull to be fair, but I guess that some people are gonna still run that acid spray and we can still manage the knockout with that power whip. Another one to push for the shield, the second one actually on the Kingdra. Ferrothorn really putting up the work, leaving the place empty for our Mawile to sweep on the entire run, and of course Outrage now is gonna be blocked effectively from our Poliwrath. Let's see now what they might be actually having at the very end, and all of a sudden a Lantern emerges. So with that dynamic punch we absolutely have the upper hand here, because now Mawile can absolutely grab that finishing line first, since we can survive pretty much a serve and right after still reach to that Iron Head for the knockout. Of course, to do so we need to respect the damage from the second serve, and of course right after the Iron Head is coming up, so Lantern will just fall down to our moves. Mawile for the win against another counter, and now let's keep going with that Fairy type up in front. You see what I did here? I stayed in up against that Ninetales and they switched out. That's mainly because it is basically kind of a good scenario for us. Those counters are still gonna do a lot of damage on their end while we resist the ice move, so the only move that can severely hurt us in reality is going to be that Psyshock or even the Dazzling, which is gonna take a little longer to get there. Anyways, now on the switch we're meeting up with the Rapidash. Of course I'm trying to get my hands here to as many as I can of those power whips just to get that shield advantage as always, and now that I have accepted my role as a shield getter with that Ferrothorn, I'm just gonna let it go down. I know that this cannot be a high horsepower, that's why I decided to let them throw the move, and of course right after we're just gonna keep farming down with ease. Now at the back they have the Lantern, as always. Every single battle today had a Lantern, right? That was insane. Anyways, and my Poliwrath is still gonna add up in damage, not only with the counters but also with the dynamic punches. Look at that heavy pressure that we can do. I'm just gonna let that move go through. It ends up being just a weather ball, we still guarantee the knockout, and of course right after all we need to do here is to reach to a simple charge attack and grab the victory for us. The Iron Head is imminent, Shadow Mawile once again finishing off the Lantern for the win. This is a scenario that we saw a lot of times in this video. So in the last matchup you saw that I stayed into the battle. Right here I switch out, and that is a severe mistake. That's why I want to mention this particular battle, because you do not have to switch out, okay? You need to stay in with your Poliwrath. This is a good lead for you, and in doing so, as you can see, I managed to have a weird scenario on the switch up against a Roserade, because now I'm kinda forced in using my shields, but I do not want to use my second one. So now Poliwrath able to finish them off, so it all depends now on what they actually might be having at the very end. So my icy wind here is gonna be double super effective against that weird flying whatever cotton like Pokemon is, and we're just gonna keep going at it with our Mawile, because I have a feeling that those power up punches are gonna be the main move that we're gonna throw. We need to vamp up our attack stat as much as possible, and I know that whatever they're gonna throw here is gonna be resisted, while I want to keep my final shield for a potential acrobatics or even the energy ball. So here comes now the move. I'm just gonna call it just in case it is an aerial ace, but my opponent absolutely wreaks havoc here up against me, and I end up losing in a very weird way. I'm just gonna block here, but still I realize that my opponent will have the upper hand no matter what, and even though I can debuff them, well, they can easily farm me down without spending any sweat at all. So that was a well-earned victory from my opponent, and now let's keep going into the next battle and seeing that jump lab from before. Well, right here we're having up in front, and they have a Razor Lever on the switch. Are you kidding me? This is a Vileplume, which means that at the very end they have to have something like a Shadow Victory, right? It would make absolute sense. So here comes out the Sludge Bomb, which we can easily take, and at the same time we can push a lot for that knockout with our Flash Cannon. They decide to go for the double block though, which is kinda weird, but another Flash Cannon is imminent, this time to guarantee guarantee the knockout up against the Vileplume, or at least I thought so. Oh my goodness, they survived. This is not Shadow on that Vileplume, and they also guarantee the knockout up against my Ferrothorn, but at this point that they are shieldless, I guess that my Icy Wind is still gonna connect for a lot of damage. However, we end up taking the move, since I have a feeling that those two shields might be much more of a broken technique for my Mawile at the very end, since now we can easily farm down not only that Jumpluff but at the same time that Abomasnow without spending any sweat at all. And as you can see here, we did the best choice ever, because by blocking twice those moves we can still reach to that Iron Head and still guarantee the victory against a very skillful trainer. Into the next battle and the final one, trainers, for this content, with Dugong up in front. Obviously this is gonna be a very good lead for us, and now on the switch we're meeting up with that Golisopod. We managed to catch the move on our Ferrothorn, which is pretty great, and we also did a little bit of extra resisted damage with those counters, putting that Golisopod at the point that one Power Whip might actually do the trick over here. So here comes the move, able to destroy down that Pokemon, but they want to start blocking. You know what, this is absolutely fine by me, because I have another Power Whip coming up. Right here they can easily farm it down, but at this point I'm just gonna return into the battle with Mawile. They retreat the battle, and right on the CMP, or at least I hope so that this was a CMP, they can get that first move. So now I can press my Dynamic Punch, knowing that I'm gonna lose that CMP up against that Golisopod, but still another Dynamic Punch will be pressed. So by blocking here the RLAs, I can simply guarantee the knockout up against that Golisopod, because even when resisted, Dynamic Punch is still gonna do a lot of damage. And since I know here that they have to completely farm down, I'm just gonna throw my Icy Wind and go ahead and throw my move here to finish off the remaining HP that this Trevenant is gonna have. Even the Shadow Ball can be taken, because we're talking about a rank 1 Mawile Shadow as well, able to grab the victory with those fire moves. That is gonna be amazing content for today with Shadow Mawile as a closer. I hope you enjoyed. Before you go, leave a like, show your appreciation by subscribing to the channel if you already haven't, and over here I have 2 videos for you to check out. Feel free to check them out, and I will catch you up later into the next one.